Well, happy February 1st, and welcome to the Power Hour with the Partnership for a Healthy Mississippi. And all of you lovely people, we are, a continuation of what we had done with the Community Connections Call. And today's topic will be a continuation of 2 weeks ago when we talked about some of the documents that one needs at the end of your life, to get ready for whether you're incapacitated or not. And there were a number of questions, so we're going to stay with that theme for this call. But let's go back for just a second. As I said, it's February. February is a very short month, but it's jam-packed with lots and lots of fun things. Today is the Lunar New Year. Millions of people are celebrating that around the world. If I'm not mistaken, I think it is beginning the year of the tiger. Not really sure what all that means, but I am so excited that it's the year of the tiger. I love tigers. We also have Valentine's Day, which is appropriate since it's also Heart Healthy Awareness Month, and that will be the theme of our next call. In addition, we have Black History Month that starts this today, and who knows what else a short little February holds. It's always an exciting time. So I have to tell you that if you received our flyer, there was somebody that's very near and dear to me who had agreed after much arm twisting to take up our topic today about wills and estates, my husband Jim. Now, you know what they say about you get what you pay for. Since last night I said, when I get to work, I will send you the phone number. And he said, what phone number? I said, the phone number for our call. And he said, what time is the call? And I said, 10 o'clock. And he said, at 4:06 today, honey, Justice Reeves at the federal district court set a hearing that I have to be in at 10 o'clock. So, with very little notice, as some of you know, I don't know if a lot of you know, I am an attorney in my previous life. So, I got to work early today, and I have been cramming like I was back in law school or studying for the bar exam so that I could fill his shoes. He was appropriately apologetic, so it may be a good time for me to buy those shoes that I've been wanting. So, and then we will have door times, Olivia, with our office, who will also talk about some of the emotional aspect of losing someone. And by that, I mean, we've been talking about the last call and in this. This is all very sort of unemotional in a way. It's very legalese. It's sort of the part that doesn't take into account sometimes the emotions of the people involved. So we would be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge that, since we do want to look after the overall health and wellness of all of our friends on the call in our organization. All right, so y'all please, let me say on the front end, and this would have been said with my husband as well, because he does not practice will and estate law, although he's a litigator and gets pulled in every now and then. But this is not legal advice. This is just information, and I hope that, it will be informative, but y'all please bear with me, because it's been a hot minute since I did this. All right, so we'll get started. And when someone passes away, they either die with a will or without a will. So, and if you die without a will, it's called intestate. And if you have a will, then you are dying testate. Now, what is a will? I know this is very basic stuff, but it is it directs the disposal of a person's property at death. Now, a will can be revoked or it can be modified. I'm sure many of us have seen movies or television shows where there's all kinds of drama circulating the will. So, it can be an overly dramatic occurrence, especially given the emotional aspect that some of them have. But in order to write a will, you must be 18 years of age and you must be of sound mind. Well, there goes me. No, I'm just kidding. But that's a very legalese phrase about being of sound mind. It must be signed, and it must be in the presence of two witnesses, and the two witnesses cannot be receiving something in the will. So they have to be uninterested witnesses. And when they sign the will, they sign it in front of the person who is making the will. And interestingly enough, a will does not have to be notarized. Now, most wills are going to have been put together by a lawyer. You're going to get in touch with a lawyer. Sometimes you're going to get a do-it-yourself one, and you'll have to follow the instructions. But if you've got any kind of significant estate, or if you've got young children, I believe we mentioned this on the last call, it's very wise to have an attorney draw it up because they're the professionals who know some of the troubles that people can get themselves into. Okay, now, there's a thing called a holographic will, and that is one that is handwritten completely by the testator, the person that's making out the will. And it does not require a witness, which is interesting. But it must be written in that person's handwriting for the entirety of the will, and then signed in their own handwriting. Okay, so let's put a pause on wills for a minute. Now, as I said, if you die without a will, you were dying intestate. And I read something, and I like this. If you die intestate, it's basically that the state of Mississippi has written your will, so to speak, because there is statutory disposal of your property. So there is the way it goes is if you die without an attorney, it goes to your spouse. Now, if you don't have a spouse and your children, so let's say you have a wife and 4 kids, then all that would be your estate's going to be divided into 5 shares. Now, if you have a spouse with no kids, it goes 100% to your spouse. If you have neither spouse nor children, then it's going to go to your parents. If you don't have parents, then it's going to go to the descendants of your parents. That's where you get those things where it's like third cousin, twice removed, all of a sudden has this huge fortune dropped in their lap of somebody they didn't even know because there was nobody else to receive it, and the person died without a will. So, and then if there is absolutely no one in the world that can be connected to you through any sort of bloodline, then the state is who receives the estate, the state receives it. And that's why I said that, that's why it's important to have some kind of disposition of how you want your estate to go. A couple of things I think that are important to say here. As I said, a will can be modified. It can be revoked. I know that you, again, those of us who watch way too much television, you've seen them rip them up You've seen people who have a lot of money who are manipulative of some of their relatives by saying, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna get you out of my will. But just because you know that someone has written you into the will and you have an expectation, until that person draws their last breath, that will can still be changed, it can be revoked, and it can be modified. And so that's where a lot of the drama can come in. Let's see. Oh, I think this one is a very interesting fact that many people do not know. So a lot of times you're newlywed, you get married, you write your will, and then you forget all about it. Things go sour, and you get a divorce. But in Mississippi, now this is not true in other states, all other states, when you get a divorce, it does not automatically revoke your will. You will have to change your will if you have not already done so to make it as relevant as possible. We've talked about, we've mentioned this at the last one. You need to make sure you stay up to date. A lot of people, the first time they write a will is when they have their first child. And then they put it in a drawer and they never think about it. And then they get busy and they have about 4 or 5 more. Well, you need to make sure that you can, make sure that your will is up to date as possible. Let's see. There was something. And your will has to be on hard paper. Right now in Mississippi, you need a actual paper copy of your will. So, now when you go to the airport, you scan your boarding pass. You've got your little, your little app thing. Right now, it does not allow for that. You've got to have a printed copy of your will. Let's see. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how we go about. Many of you may have heard the idea of probate. Well, probate is how your estate is settled. This is where, when someone passes away, there usually is going to be bills to be paid before we even get to the distribution of property. There are bills that are going to have to be paid and things that are going to have to be settled. All of that goes through the probate process. Now, in Mississippi, there is no need for probate if the estate is under $50,000. But let's face it, that's not a very high threshold if you own, if you own your house or have a substantial interest in a house, property. But if it's under $50,000, then you would not have to go through the probate process. But there is still a process, but it's just not the full-fledged process. Let me give you some examples. Many of you remember the tragedy of when Prince died. Well, Prince was not married, nor did he have any children, but he had 6 siblings. And he died without a will. And those 6 siblings, I don't even remember how long ago it's been, but it's been multiple years. They're still squabbling over who gets what. And that's a very large estate. Now, let's take that same example and let's have someone die without a will who has 6 siblings, same situation, and it doesn't look like they've got much of anything. But then you get into who's going to get that Bible that Mama passed down to that particular child. Who's going to get Aunt Sarah's ring that's in that person's jewelry box? Those kinds of things still are going to be problematic. So again, the more detail you can cover, and nobody likes it. As I mentioned at the last call, I'm dealing with this with my parents, and every time my mom brings it up, I get so uncomfortable. And here I am, I'm a lawyer. I know how important this is, but it makes me uncomfortable. but, it has to be done. So, now, another thing before we go back to probate, just to go back to the equal shares. So, if you have a surviving spouse and children, if you have kids in Mississippi, under Mississippi law, you have a spouse and children, but she got on your nerves, and you really don't want to leave for anything. Under Mississippi law, you cannot leave out your spouse. As one, I'm happy to hear that because, I know I get on his last nerve sometimes. But they will always get at least a child's portion. So if you have 3 kids, then the estate would be divided into 4 parts, and the spouse would get 1 part. Now, parents can disinherit their children, and that happens quite often. Now, so we talked about, the probate process. There are assets that do not have to go through a will or through probate. And many of you probably already do this. So if you've bought a house, most often it's going to have your name and your spouse's name or, your partner's name on that house. So if one or the other dies, that person has what they call legally a joint tenancy. And that tenancy is where you are co-owners of that house. Now, it could be that at some point your dad bought some land and he put your name on it. Okay, so that's going to be you will be the co-owner. When your dad dies, you own the property. Sometimes there are multiple names on the deed, and then there you go, you got a little problem. Life insurance proceeds. Whoever is the beneficiary, when you fill out those forms for insurance proceeds, you have the primary beneficiary, and then you have the secondary beneficiary. And that's in the event that the primary dies. And you need to have a plan of who's going to get the insurance proceeds, in that event. But they do not have to go through your will. You have basically used that insurance policy as a will substitute, and that deed with the 2 names on it as a will substitute. Bank accounts. This is another way that a lot of people can avoid problems. With a bank account, you can have more than one person on that account. Now, I will tell you, if you want to get that person off, it can be harder. But, you got to, everybody come in and sign new forms and all that. But it is a way for that money to go straight to that person without going through a will or going through probate, because it's showing that you're joint owners of that account. Okay, I want to go back just because this is, when I tell you this is complicated, you'll see why it's always, it's so necessary in a lot of cases for people to employ a lawyer to do this. And I'm all for lawyers and all that. This is not a sales job. I'm just saying you can avoid a lot of problems. So, you have a child. This is in Mississippi. You have a child but no spouse. Child gets everything. You have a spouse but no children. Spouse gets everything. You have spouse and 1 child. They each inherit half. You have a spouse. You had a child who predeceased you, and that child had children. Well, whatever that child's share was, okay, so let's say it's 1 child, 1 spouse. Spouse gets half, then half of that estate will be distributed between that child's children. Then if you have parents but no spouse or children, your parents get it. And if you have siblings but no spouse, children, or parents, then the siblings inherit everything. So that is another reason, if you've got, you've had a lifelong squabble with one of your siblings, another reason that you really want to have a will. Okay, so insurance day, making sure I've covered everything. And the probate period, because when an estate is going through probate, you have to have an administrator that's appointed. If there's no will, it's an administrator. If there is a will, it's an executor. And all of the debts, all of the liens, everything has to be accounted for. The taxes have to be paid. And it's not until you've gone through all of that everybody has had that is owed by the deceased is made whole. At that point, then the assets will be distributed according to the intestate law or according to the will. That's why sometimes, you have families who find out, after Dad passed away that there were huge gambling debts or huge liens on the property that you didn't know about. And things like that can happen that will erode what the expectation is sometimes of someone's estate. So, that can be quite earth-shattering sometimes for people who have an expectation that will happen. Okay, so now I want to talk about something that we alluded to on the last call, and those are your power of attorney. There are basically 3 types of power of attorney. There is what they call, these are advanced directives. This is the person making out, stating what can happen in the event that this person becomes incapacitated. And as you know, incapacitated, it could be for a very short period of time. I'll give you an example. When the President of the United States has to have surgery and is under anesthetic, during that portion of time, that person, the Vice President, is the acting president because the president is incapacitated for that very short period of time or whatever it may be. So there is the durable power of attorney, the power of attorney for health care decisions, and the living will. These can be, so let's go back to the first one, the power of attorney. It's the general power of attorney. This is one many of you may be familiar with. You've got elderly parents. They are having a hard time paying their bills on time because they forget where they put them. I'm speaking from real life experience here. And so in order to help with certain decisions like that, the power of attorney lets you make some of these decisions, whether they're financial or something else that would be pertinent to this person's life. A power of attorney for health care decisions, that is in the event that you become incapacitated, and you want somebody to make sure that that your wishes are carried out. And by that I mean, I want to make sure that I get the best care. I'm unconscious. And, I want to make sure that you don't just, I tell my husband this all the time, look, just because I bump my head and I'm out for a minute, don't pull the plug yet. And then the final one is a living will. Now, a living will it gives health care instructions for someone who's terminally ill or at the end of their life. And this is going to be, if you're terminally ill and you're unconscious, Do you want to receive, life-saving measures? Your heart codes out. Do you want to be revived? Do you want to receive hydration and nutrition that's being provided to you? It's how and whether or not you want to receive pain medicine until the end of your time. So these are revocable. And then the other thing that a lot of people may not understand is the power of attorney ends at the death of the person. So that's when the will or the intestate aspect kicks in. Not to be confused that, okay, I have been my aunt's, sort of guardian. I've got power of attorney over all of this. But in her will, she left everything to my mom. Or she left everything to her hairdresser, things like that. So those things are very important. The kinds of things that you want to have happen after, if you are in a situation where you cannot voice what your preferences are. So, I think the bottom line here on all of this, and we mentioned this on the last call, you're going to be gone. This is going to help those that you leave behind. And it allows you all of the things that you have accumulated over your life to be directed in a way that you want. That's why a lot of times you'll see children have been disinherited, and a foundation was set up to help with this, that, and the other. I know Bill Gates said that his children will not just receive his wealth in one fell swoop. I'm sure that they're very well taken care of, but he wants them to earn their own way. So that happens a lot of times. And, a lot of times you have something that's near and dear to your heart, a cause, or you lost a child to leukemia, you want to set up a foundation, or you want to give all your money for research. I think the ones that really make us all either scratch our heads or chuckle, and that's when people leave their money to their pets. I'm just going to leave that there. I don't know what to say. But anyway, but that does, if you do have a beloved pet, you may want to write into your will what happens to your beloved pet. So just to review, it's always better to have a will. You can handwrite your will, and it does not need to be witnessed. But if you have, if you want a document that is going to hopefully withstand a will contest, because those happen all the time. I just mentioned somebody, that wrote their family out of their will, and gave it to the dog or whatever. They can contest the will, and they can say that this person was not of sound mind when this will was written, and then that goes on. And so these, especially large estates, but sometimes not so large estates, the will contest can last for years. And sometimes you burn up so much money in the will contest that there's not a whole lot left at the end. But the more straightforward you can always be, the better. And I think I will end for now. Happy to take questions. As I said, this is not legal advice. This is just some helpful hints. And I hope I did okay, because like I said, I did not have much time to prepare, and I felt like I was cramming for law school and bar exam again. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Sharon for right now, and I think she is going, well, I guess I'm going to turn it over to Olivia. I'm sorry for being so scattered. Olivia?
Unmuted.
Yes, I'm here, Sandra. I'm here.
Okay, great.
And I think you made an awesome point with your urge and your call to action for for us to start thinking about that and having that conversation, because it can be a very it can be a stressful time for loved ones. I really, people always say, you can really see how people act, when someone dies or when someone is born. And that's true because, we have to kind of, sometimes people have to really scramble to be able to give their loved one what they believe, they're owed in arrangements. So while we're here, because death is inevitable, although people, we know that we cannot live forever, we may want to, but we know death is going to come eventually. And with the pandemic that has happened, it has even it has brought us more attention to the fact that it can literally happen at any day now. So this is not to say that to be fearful of death, but to kind of give yourself some kind of control in the event that you do pass. What are the circumstances? Because you can be as specific. Tell me if I'm wrong, Sandra, of how you would like to be, whether you would want to be cremated or not, whether you would want to be put on life support. If you ever had to be, you could, say, hey, I don't want to be put on life support. I would like to, just pull the plug. If that's your choice, you have that option.
No, and that's, and Olivia, that's exactly right. That's what those living wills and power of attorneys are about. And many of you may have been in hospice before and you've seen someone that has a band on their arm that says DNR, do not resuscitate. So, that was the choice that they made. And I'm glad you brought that up about how you want your funeral, or, how you want to be buried. And sometimes that can be a very big sticking point within families. So, spell it out if possible. And, you can always change your mind. You can revoke a will. You can revoke a power of attorney. You can modify it. It is your, it is about you. It is about your wishes. But I tell you to make sure that the people that you love know about what you want, even if you want to surprise them and not tell them what's in the will. But the loved ones in your life, make sure that they know that they need to be taking care of these documents and having this as well. I'm sorry, Lydia, go ahead.
No, you're perfectly fine. But, going back to your loved ones, I just, I know these conversations that we could have, about afterlife planning can be difficult to have. But I can assure you that conversation would be easier once you have it in the event that you do pass. The time after that, your loved ones will have some peace of mind because you have already laid out how you would like things to go. You already have planned out, okay, in the event that I pass, I have this in my savings could be used for this. Oh, and you can, I know if you have a life insurance plan, sometimes we don't like to tell people we have life insurance because you never know people's motives. But find someone that you trust in your family that could, in case you do pass, they can be able to get access to those funds. So I'm going to give it back to Sharon. I just want to leave you all with, although it can be a hard conversation now, down the line, you're going to be people will have a lot of peace of mind, by you making these decisions now. Sharon?
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. Yes.
Sharon, before you say your part, I would like to ask everyone, again, please bear with us today because, my husband had a court. If any of you know anything about that, when the judge says you got to be there, you got to be there. So I'm going to forgive him. But we are very interested in what you want to hear about and people who would like to be speakers on this. Remember, the new structure is about being thematic. So for the next call, which will be the 15th, our topic will be heart health. This is part of where, heart health is month. And so if anybody has suggestions for some speakers, we would be happy to entertain that. It does not have to be one person. It can be several people that are speaking about that topic. So, Sharon?
Okay, well, thank you, Miss Olivia. Thank you, Sandra. Sandra, tell Jim you represented him very well. Just want to just piggyback on a couple things that you all said. And, we always talk about the first of the year, getting things in order, making resolutions and things of that nature. Try to set you a date each year to actually look at your will and look at your life insurance policies. You want to make sure that you make those updates. As Sandra said, sometimes people are write a will, but they never look at it again, and things have changed. And even our family, our son, everything, if something happened to my husband and I, to our oldest son, but our other sons have gotten older. So we had to go back and rework and relook at some things as well, because we will. Those are issues and topics that we don't like to talk about, as Olivia said. But at the same time, think about our loved ones are already in a state of distress and trying to handle so much, and with all the emotions and all the feelings. Just imagine if there was one less thing that they had to worry about. So I encourage you all, for the listeners, if you know, and have these discussions with all of your family members, sisters, aunts, uncles, to make sure that they have their things, their final wishes listed, have a will in place so that their families won't have to fight or struggle or go through whatever they go, anything unnecessary, because we did not leave them well prepared. So I encourage you to take this information, the information that we heard on the call on the last call, about even your bank account numbers, things that we don't think about, making sure that your loved ones know who your supervisor is, know where you work at, know if they need to contact that person at work to find out any additional information, so that they can contact those people in case something happens or if there is an emergency in your life. So again, those little things we need to make sure we take care of, but also those big things that we need to take care of. Invest in your family. Invest in getting a lawyer to help you to put everything in order. And I'm guilty. I'm tapping my hand as I talk, because we talk about these things, but we still need to go a step further to make sure that we have all the necessary documents in place to ensure that our loved ones are well prepared. One thing that the presenter said last week, on the last call, she on her book cover is money left in couches, because what we do as families, we leave money for the state to have because we have not allocated it to our family members. So our family members could really need this. And, really need this to go on and to have a successful life. But because we're not doing some simple steps of writing it down, getting it in order, whatever we need to do to ensure that everyone has what you want them to have in case of your death. Again, as we said, we know this is a touchy subject. I thank you all for joining us for these calls so that you can better prepare yourself as well as your family in case something happens. And Sandra, you brought out something that I didn't. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say, we're happy to take questions. I'll try to answer any of your questions.
Yes, we will take questions. And one thing that you brought out that I did not realize that your will had to have 2 signatures on it. That I did not know. So I thank you for bringing that out. So make sure that the individuals that you have to sign your will are not in your will. So please make sure as you begin this process that you make sure you have everything in order so it won't be any issues once, those final days and things of that nature. But at this time, we are going to open the floor up for any questions. If you have any questions for anyone or any comments, you need to star 6 yourself and you can unmute yourself. Well, if we do not have any questions, I would like to open up the floor as well for community announcements. Any community announcements? I think, George, you were going to share some things. Please star 6 yourself, and you can share at this time.
Good evening. Good morning, everyone. This is Joyce Nunn, and I have some community announcements for this month, and it's with Yazoo City Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And our theme is Why Red? And we are asking that everyone on February the 4th wear red. And you can go to our page and post your pictures or videos or whatever you have that day, because we actually will be doing videos and posting why we wear red. So it is Heart Health Month for women, and we're pleased asking you to do that. Men as well. Post your picture and tell us why you wear red for the special woman in your life. And also, I'm a Mississippi Health Ambassador, and please, if you have not gotten your COVID-19 vaccine, please do so. Encourage your friends who may have not have gotten theirs as well to get it and get their boosters. Because me, myself, I haven't gotten my booster yet because I got COVID for the second time, right when I was getting ready to get my booster. So it is very important that we get our vaccines. And thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. I heard another voice chiming in.
Sharon, that was me earlier. I just want to say I think Sandra's done an outstanding job with her presentation today. And based on last week's presentation, because that is a real touchy subject, and I have pondered dealing with it, and we know it's inevitable, but I have started having that conversation with my daughter, even though I knew that I should be putting some things in place, and even more now with this pandemic. But she said a lot of things and they were basic, so I really appreciate they were basic, but they're important things that we often overlook, as you said, with the signatures. And you can't be a part of that if you're going to make out your own will. The person is included. They really can't sign off on anything. So kind of knew that, but kind of fell on my radar. But those were some really great tips that she just shared with us that we're going to have to implement. We just know it's just a matter of time. We just got to do that. So personally, I want to thank Sandra for that, because that was very helpful to me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
Sharon, this is thank you. Sharon, this is Betty. Thank you.
Oh, hey, Betty, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Listen, I'm asking, is your Terrific Tuesdays being recorded? I missed some of the wheel information that was being provided, and I was hoping that I could go back and listen to it if it's possible. If not, share some information and I can download it, Google it, or whatever is necessary.
Oh, the call will be
living.
Yeah, the call is being recorded, and we'll be able to try to have that up on Friday on the Facebook page. We'll send an email out letting everyone know when it is available.
Okay, and we will get that to you, Betty. Thank you so much. And I can share. I'll speak with you later as well, and I'll share some things with you. Any additional community? Thank you, Betty. I have two announcements. There is a free virtual breastfeeding excellence conference that is hosted by JSU Foundation and also the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. It will be held on February 17th and March 24th. The time is 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Breastfeeding excellence conference. And it is a virtual. They have some awesome speakers that will be speaking on that platform for that session. We will also post this on the partnership's website. And then on February 17th, 2022 at 9 a.m., the Delta Doula program will be doing some training. It's going to be a Zoom event as well. And I can get you in contact with that person, Miss Jacqueline Lambert, and her number is 662-378-6963. And we have another community announcement. They're going to be having COVID-19 testing, vaccination, and blood pressure checks And this event is sponsored by the Yazoo City Police Department in conjunction with the Choices for Children and Family Medical Clinic. They're going to be offering vaccines for 5 years old and up. And will be located on 305 Night XB Drive in Yazoo City, Mississippi on February 17th, 2022. So this is a drive-through event, and you can stop by there and get your vaccines and get your blood pressure checked as well. Make sure you're getting your blood pressure checked often. Because they call it the silent killer. You could be feeling fine, and I think several of you all heard me tell the story. Once my husband and I went to a health fair, and as a wife, I was trying to make sure he got everything checked. But when I sat down and got my pressure checked, she looked at me. I looked back at her, and I was feeling fine. And she said that you need to. She said your pressure's really high. She said sit a minute, and I will take it again. And so I sat and I waited a while. And again, as I said, I was feeling fine. And she took it again and she said, your pressure is extremely high. She told me that at that time that I needed to really run to the doctor. And I told her, no, I'm not taking any medicine. I just don't want to take any medicine because I'm feeling fine. And she said very nicely, you don't have to. Go ahead and decide on who's going to keep your children. And when she said that, at that point in that time, I started thinking about myself. And I started thinking about my family. And I started thinking about my husband being left with 3 boys because of a choice I would have made of not taking medicine. So I did. I stopped thinking about myself because as humans, we are selfish and we want to do what we want. But when we start looking at the people that will be affected with our lives, if we don't do what we need to do, as even with smoking, and I share that story with individuals that use tobacco products because, again, they are putting something in their bodies intentionally. When they go to the store, I always say when you go to the store and you pick up these products, you read the labels, and the labels tell you, it can cause this, this, and this. So you're saying when you purchase these products that it's okay for this to happen. And I'm not just picking on smokers because we all struggle with something. If I unmuted the line and said, hey, what do you struggle with? We all struggle with something. And that is just something that they struggle with. But at the same time, when we think about when we're doing harmful things on purpose, really, to our bodies, think about those individuals that we say we love, the people that are closest to us. How would their life be if we were not here? And then to just even know that we did it ourselves. So just like I made the choice to run on to the hospital and get some high blood pressure medicine that I take every morning before I even use the bathroom most morning, because I'm thinking not only of myself, but I'm thinking about my children. So if there's anything that we're doing in our lives that we should not be doing, make sure that we know the effect. It does not only affect us, but it's also affecting our loved ones. And even with the things that we've talked about on these last 2 calls, getting a will in place, writing those account numbers down, getting those PIN numbers in place, putting our children on bank accounts and things of that nature, things that we forget, doing those things because, again, we'll be gone. We can't do anything once that last breath has been taken. We can't do anything. So making sure that we have everything in place so that our family and our loved ones can go on, and that won't be a stressor for them. So I encourage you to take the time and put some of these things in practice. As I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself as well. We did start on some things, but we have not finished. But our goal is each year to go back and to update, to make sure that we have everything in place, because things change throughout the years. Policies change and whatever. If you have a whole life and term and all of that, you need to make sure that you know when these terms are up and things of that nature, and understand that the price will go up. Those are some other things that we could probably bring to you all at a later date. But being informed about your situation so that you can keep your family informed. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are no other community announcements, happy first.
Yes. Good morning. I have an announcement.
Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. And amen to what you were saying, and thanks for the great information that we received about the wheel and everything. But my announcement is I bring you greetings from Harford County. I'm Debbie Hill, the Health Council Coordinator from the Harford County area. And we just, this month, we just want to bring to everyone's attention that February is National Cancer Prevention Month. So we will be spreading the word with help literature and different activities throughout the month of February, getting the word out about National Cancer Prevention Month, Awareness Month. And we know in order to prevent any type of cancer, to lower your risk, you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, get active for 150 minutes per week, get screened regularly by a primary care physician. And I coordinate the Pompey County CHARS, which we have 18 volunteers, and they will be assisting me in spreading the word for the month of February about National Cancer Prevention Month. Thank you. And
Thank you so much.
We are being sponsored by UAB Cancer Center out of Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you.
Awesome. And what's your name again?
Debbie Hill.
Okay.
Debbie Hill from
Betty
County.
Have an announcement I'd like to share. Okay. Can you hold one quick second? Betty Hill, do you have your contact information?
Okay, yes, it's Debbie Hill. Debbie, not Betty. Debbie.
Oh, Debbie.
Debbie, yes. And my number is
okay.
Debbie. As the little Debbie snack cake.
I know the Debbie snack.
Yes, my contact number is 662-836-4998.
Okay, and I heard another voice. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Okay,
yes.
You all have my email because I received the email on this call this morning.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for joining.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for all the wonderful information shared about wheels this morning. I just wanted to make an announcement for anyone may be in the Greenville, Washington County area on Friday who is in need of vaccines from 4:30 to 6:30 on the north end of the Greenville Mall. The Leland Medical Clinic mobile unit will be giving vaccinations, J&J, Pfizer, and Moderna. And other health information, heart health in particular, sponsored by Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority for this Pink Goes Red week. And we just invite anyone in the area to come out and join us. And please tell others.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Any additional announcements? Hello? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
Does anybody know what the theme is this year for Heart Health? I can look it up, but I just wondered if anybody already knew. For Women's Red Day and everything, what is the theme this year? Anybody know?
Ms. Barty, I don't know. Anybody on the line know right off the theme for this month or that?
The theme for the cause?
Not a call of Heart Health Month. Is that what you were asking, Ms. Barty?
Yes, yeah.
Of the Heart Health
theme
Month
every year. They usually have a theme every year.
The same go red for women, I'm thinking.
Okay. All right. I didn't know whether that was the theme or not. I know that was what it was last year.
I think that's what it still is because that's what we pulled from the website.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm thinking that's what it is.
Okay.
Thank you, George. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions or announcements? Well, we have had another awesome power hour with the partnership. We thank you all for joining. We thank you for your commitment. Please continue to share the word. If you are not on our calling system where you receive the text and you would like to be on there to receive the text, you will receive a text the day before the call as well as the morning of the call to remind you of the call. And please feel free to share that. Please forward it to your friends and family that could benefit from these calls as well. If you are not receiving that, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm Sharon Meadows. You can reach me at 601-497-9884, and we can get you on that call messaging system so you can have a reminder of those calls. But please don't hesitate. And also, when you get that text messaging, when you're on that text messaging, if you want to send a message back, you can. So if you're thinking about, or if you meet somebody that you think would be an awesome presenter for any of our calls, please don't hesitate to respond to that call messaging system, or you may call myself as well, and we can get you on the call. If there is nothing else, I just pray that everyone stays safe. Continue to do what you need to do. If you haven't gotten the vaccine, get the vaccine. Make sure you're washing your hands. Make sure that you are continuing to wear your mask, and make sure that you are continuing to social distance when you're out in the world, in the community, to ensure not only that you are safe, but that everyone that you come in contact with is safe as well. We wish you all a wonderful, terrific Tuesday, and have a great day. And we will see you all in 2 weeks discussing heart health. Have a great week. Thank you.